Welcome back to the final part of the Phantom Draft. We've gone through the first round in the previous video, but now we'll get into, I guess, the less interesting picks. But this is the bulk of the draft, so let's just get straight into it. So Richmond kick us off on night 2 of the draft, and this is a pick that I found a lot of trouble with trying to pick out because there's going to be a lot of offers for this pick from other clubs. First pick of the second night, so clubs will have had time to dwell over their options, and I'm sure plenty would have wanted Richmond's pick at this point. But obviously I've restricted myself to not doing any live trades that are more speculative. And Jasper Alga is the player I've landed on at this point. It is a slight reach, I guess, but I think Richmond have a need for small forwards. 182 centimeters, plays a bit like Jack Higgins. He's good overhead on the lead. Not the fastest, but he has a lot of X factor and smarts around forward 50. So I think given Richmond, delisted Noah Cumberland and don't really have any established forward 50 talent, I think Alga suits that mold really well. Bulldogs on the board, and I have them taking Christian Moraes at pick 29. Outside or even inside, can play inside, winger, and he's probably the best front half goal kicker out of the remaining crop of players. So I've got the Bulldogs taking him. They took Totoli earlier on night 1, and he's the more classy ball user. Moraes is the quicker, more impactful, damaging player. When he's kicking is good, he's an exceptional player, top 10 talent probably, but too often he lets himself down with that skill. So I think if you can fix up Moraes' kicking, he can be a very valuable pick at this point. West Coast at pick 30 take Hamish Davis as a local product. He's got a mature body, 190 centimeters, and I think he slots straight into West Coast forward half. There are doubts over whether he becomes a full-time midfielder, but even if he doesn't, I think West Coast need goal kickers, and Davis is able to do that. Pick 31, Port Adelaide on the board, and I have them taking Tom Gross. He is a half forward who's good overhead, who can also play in the midfield as a contested ball winner. Port Adelaide currently have the likes of Butters, Rosie, Horne-Francis as kind of those more classy mids, but Gross is the one who can win it out of stoppage, handball it out to those guys to use the ball. So I think Gross at this point is a pretty good pick for Port Adelaide. Pick 32, Fremantle on the clock, and I've got them taking Hugh Boxall, another local talent, 188 centimeters. Obviously Fremantle already have an elite midfield with Sarong, Brayshaw, Young already rolling through there. They took Joe Berry on night 1, and I think they'll be looking to try and add another layer to their midfield depth. They've got Johnson and Erasmus coming through as kind of those youngsters, but I think another prospect in that midfield will really shore them up. I don't really think they have a need for defenders or key position players or anything like that, so to shore up the midfield I think is a good option at this point, especially in a midfield heavy draft. Pick 33 on the board with the Giants, and I've got them bidding on Carlton's Ben Campriali. If the Saints hold this pick, they'll do so as well. Again, I don't know where exactly the bid's going to come, but it will be around this range. And yeah, so Ben Campriali goes at 33. Carlton match, so the Giants are back on the clock, and I have them taking a bit of a slider, Harrison Oliver. He could go as early as pick 15 at Giants' original first round picks, but I just haven't really found a suitable club for him earlier in the pool. Most clubs are focusing on forward half players or key position players, and Oliver's kind of being left out. But yeah, he gets to 34, and the Giants would be really pleased to pick him up at this point. He's a good ball user, really attacking, but he can also be accountable for a man, and he's courageous as well. He's got one of the most admirable skill sets in the pool for a halfback, and the Giants could use him after losing Harry Perryman and Isaac Cumming. Hawthorn on the board at 35, and their favourite is Jonty Fall, I think, but he's been taken off the board earlier on, so I have them taking Thomas Sims at this point, 199cm key forward who can also play in the ruck. I think he can form a good partnership with Cole Shadir and Mitch Lewis going forward. He's a good size, he's good overhead. His set shot kicking is probably what lets him down a little bit, but that can obviously be worked on. But he's mobile, and I think he has a lot of upside if he can clean up his skills. And I think Hawthorn will be willing to take a punt on him at this point. Then the Bulldogs are on the clock, and I had them taking Harry O'Farrell as a fullback. Bulldogs obviously are stacked with key position players. I think most of them are attacking, so I've got them taking a fullback who can just lock down. They've got Buslinger obviously, but he's more of an intercepting defender in my opinion. They've got Karmas and O'Donnell who are also that kind of type. So I think O'Farrell is the one who can kind of free these guys up to be more attacking and intercepting. So I think this is a good pick for the Dogs at 36. Port Adelaide are back on the clock. I think they'll pull the trigger on a local talent by the name of Angus Clark, 188cm medium defender who is good at rebounding. They obviously lost Dan Houston in the trade period. They've got a bit of depth there. Logan Evans can probably play a role, Dylan Williams, but I think Clark has a lot more upside than those guys, and yeah, he's just a really attacking player who I think would suit Port Adelaide's game style really well. Pick 38, I have the Giants taking Kale Jarine. He's a key forward / ruck, 199cm, extremely agile for his size. I think he came top 10 in the national combine for the agility test, so he's a bit of a unicorn in terms of athleticism at his size. He's got a mature body, so he's already pretty prepared for AFL level. The Giants re-signed Lachlan Keefe for another year, and he's kind of mid-30s now, and I think the Giants will be looking for someone who can play in that key forward / ruck role. They've obviously got, Jesse Hogan, they've got Jake Stringer now as well, and then Jake Riccardi as like key forwards, I guess, or pseudo key forwards, but they don't really have someone who can pinch it in the ruck. I guess Cadman can do that, but it doesn't hurt to have a bit more versatility in that forward line. I think Jarine is a good option for that. So that is the end of the second round. A pretty short second round due to all the picks that have been swallowed up by bids, mainly attributed to the Lions and Essendon and Gold Coast. So we'll move on to round 3. Sydney are first on the board in round 3, and I've got them bidding on GWS's Logan Smith. He's a ruckman, 204cm, probably the second best ruckman behind Alex Dodson in this year's pool, and the Giants have priority access to him, so they'll match that bid. And then Sydney again, a bid on Adrian Cole at pick 40, tied to St Kilda, so St Kilda will match that bid. And then Sydney finally take Archer Day-Wicks with pick 41. X-Factor small forward. He's got a lot of upside given his size at 186cm. So he's a bit more of a taller small forward, but he has, it's the same athleticism. He's got good skills as well. Just has to put it all together and be a bit more consistent. Pick 42, Geelong on the clock, and I've got them bidding on Hawthorn's Cody Anderson. He is a next generation academy prospect for the Hawks, and they'll match that bid. I think the Cats would be keen on him, considering he is an inside midfielder who is really tough and can win the ball. And I think Geelong need contested ball winners, but yeah, unfortunately Hawthorn matched that bid for them. And the Cats then move on to their next target, which is Lockie Jakes, 185cm halfback who can lock down. He plays for the Geelong Falcons, so he's a local boy. I think the Cats have already been linked with him, so I think this just makes so much sense for Jakes as a halfback. Geelong obviously have Lawson Humphreys as kind of a young rebounding halfback, but Jakes is a bit more of a defensive type who can lock down. So I think I see him as a bit more of a Buse replacement going forward, and yeah, I think it's just a perfect fit. Essendon on the clock at pick 44. I think this pick doesn't get swallowed up by any Kako bid, so they can take this to the open pool, and I've got them taking James Barrett, 193cm utility who can play forward, back, midfield, wherever the coach needs him. And I think Essendon could do with a bit more versatility. Someone who can start forward if the game is kind of getting away, you can put him in defence, and if they need a bit more contested ball winning or a big body, which is something they do lack in the midfield, which is a big body midfielder, I think they can chuck Barrett in there as well. So I think he's a Mr. Fix-It for the Bombers if they do take him at this point. The Bulldogs on the clock with pick 45, and I have them taking Luke Urquhart, WA midfielder with a lot of burst. He's got a mature body as well, so he's ready-made for AFL. The Bulldogs obviously took a key position player and Joe Berry, small forward, early on, so I think they'll want to stock up on their midfield a little bit more, considering they have Liberatore, Bontempelli, Treloar, all approaching 30s and even mid-30s, so their midfield is getting a bit older, and I think they need to replenish their stocks in there, and Urquhart is a good start, considering it's pick 45. Pick 46, Port Adelaide back on the clock, and now they take Noah Mraz, who has slid a little bit. He's been injured basically all year, which has led to this slip, but at his best, he is one of the best key defenders in this year's pool. I think Port Adelaide would be ecstatic to have him at this point. They've got Zerk Thatcher, they've got Aaliyah, but I think they'd want Aaliyah and Zerk Thatcher to be intercepting a bit more, and Mraz is the player who can lock down and free them up. Radaglia as a defender didn't really work. I think they moved him forward in the latter stages of 2024, so just to shore up those stocks, I think Mraz is the perfect player for them. At pick 47, I have the Pies taking Gabriel Stumpf as a 196cm key forward. He's got a lot of speed. I'm sure if you guys followed the combine, you would have heard of his name. He won 20-meter sprint as a key forward amongst some other top 10 finishes and other measures. So he's really athletic. I think the one problem with him is a lack of size and overhead marking, so you'll have to get him on the lead. But yeah, I think his ground level work is really good, so I think that suits Collingwood's game style really well, considering they like to bring the ball to ground rather than kind of relying on contested marking. So yeah, I think Stumpf is a perfect fit for the Pies. Essendon with back-to-back picks with pick 48 and 49. I have them taking Charlie Nichols first as a 197cm key forward. Another mobile key forward, but this time he's good overhead, contested marking, and he has a lot of upside with his size and his athleticism. I think his ground ball stuff is a bit of a drawback, which is why he slid a little bit more, but you can't question his talent. I think he is someone who can fill a void with Peter Wright, a bit unreliable. Nick Cox, Harrison Jones aren't key forwards anymore, I don't think. And then they obviously lost Jake Stringer as that pseudo key forward, so I think Nichols is an important pick for the Bombers and could go well with Barrett in a forward line together. And the Bombers follow this up with Josh Dolan as a small forward who 177cm, so relatively small, but he's hardworking and he's fast. He's got a bit of X factor at ground level, but I think he can work up the ground and kind of play as a pressure forward. They obviously got Kako in the first round from the NGA. Dolan is a more hardworking player who can enable Kako to be a bit more exciting and focus on kicking goals rather than the more disciplined role-playing stuff. So yeah, I think Dolan is a good player to complement Kako in the Essendon forward line. At pick 50, I have Collingwood taking Zach Johnson as a 185cm midfielder. Johnson has a lot of speed, and I think Collingwood could do with a bit more speed through their midfield. They've obviously got a lot of older guys in there like Mitchell, Pendlebury, Sidebottom. So I think a player who can burst through packs and burst at the front of a stoppage to deliver the ball inside 50 would be quite appealing to the Pies. The one question mark over him is his kicking skills, so he kind of misses targets quite often, so that's something the Pies would have to fix, but you can't doubt his talent and his ability to spread from stoppage, and I think he complements Nick Dacos and John DeGoey really well. Pick 51, I have the Cats taking Jack Ow as a 193cm midfielder who can also play at halfback. He adds some size to that Geelong midfield. They've obviously got Dangerfield there at the moment, who I think is 189 or something like that. But I think he's the only midfielder who's tall. Mitch Nevitt is quite tall as well, but I think he's more of a winger at this point. So to get Ow in that midfield alongside Tanner Bruin, Max Holmes and Jai Clark, I think he's a really good midfielder to complement that midfield setup at the Cats. At pick 52, I have the Lions taking Patrick Rechko. I don't think this bid will get swallowed by any of the bids, so I think Rechko is a good option for the Lions. He's another midfielder who can play inside, outside. But I think they might look for a bit more depth in that area. I'm not exactly sure what the Lions need because their team is so good. They could maybe look for a key forward, but there aren't really any key forwards that are much better than the current options in Brandon Ryan and Henry Smith. So I've just got them stocking up on their midfielders after they lost Jackson Pryor and Harry Sharp and a couple of others. I've got Sydney back on the clock, and I have them bidding on Essendon's Jane Ewan, who I think might go a bit later, but I think this is the top of his range, and the Bombers match that bid. And the Swans, I think they'll take Joel Cochran from their academy in a direct bid. I don't think they'll wait any longer for a bid to come later on because of lift spot issues. So I've just got them taking Cochran instantly. Then the Pies are on the clock at pick 55, and I have them taking Clancy Dennis as a key defender, 194 centimeters. He was All-Australian in the under-18s team. He starred for Claremont in Western Australia, and he's just a bit undersized, which is why he's slid a little bit. But if he can kind of work on his defensive craft, kind of be like Nathan Murphy, then I think he has a future at AFL level. At pick 56, I have North Melbourne taking Charlie West. Another key forward, this time 194 centimeters, so a bit smaller than the other ones, but he does provide a nice target up forward. He's from South Australia, but I think given his contested marking skills, and he doesn't need to be much bigger than that because North Melbourne just need a partner to Nick Larkey, and I think West would be a good option as kind of a third tall or a second centre half forward. So I think it complements Larkey quite well. Pick 57, Adelaide on the board. I've just got them taking Tyler Welsh, direct bid. I'm not sure if a bid will come any earlier than this, but I think it will come around this range. Then the Pies are back on the board with pick 58, and I had them taking Richmond VFL star Sam Davidson. Another key forward option for them, bit undersized at 191 centimeters. And the Pies already have, Brody Myercheck and Tim Membry, but I think Davidson adds just another layer to that depth, and I think he provides a good target up forward and is quite mobile, so I think he complements that forward line especially well, given Collingwood's game style. Fremantle on the clock at pick 59, and I have them taking Josh Murphy as a X-Factor third tall. I feel like Murphy has gone off Broadway a little bit for whatever reason. I think maybe just his performances in the Coast Talent League have been a bit underwhelming. But he's got talent, he's an X-Factor forward, and I think a team like Fremantle with multiple late picks and a pretty settled team, they're in premiership contention at this point, so I think taking a punt on Josh Murphy as a potential replacement for Sam Sturt or more of a role player at AFL level, I think is worth the punt at pick 59. But then Carlton are on the board with back-to-back picks, pick 60 and 61. Got them taking Lucas Campriali first. Direct bid. A bid will come for him around this point. And then I have them taking Oliver Warburton at pick 61. He's a midfielder who can also play in defence. I think he played in defence for Vic Country and then midfield for Gippsland Power. 185 centimeters. He's got speed to burn. He's really quick and he's got good foot skills as well. He's just a bit diminutive in size, but at 185 centimeters, it's a pretty good height and has a bit of scope to build a bit more muscle on his frame. And I think bringing him in would free up Adam Sard to be more attacking further up the field, so could move him into the midfield. But I think Warburton also could just be a successor for Sard going forward as a halfback. There's a lot of flexibility with this player, and I think Carlton will be pleased to have him. Pick 62, I think Carlton are back on the board again, and I have them taking Phoenix Hargrave, who is a mature-bodied 182 centimeter midfielder. He's played in the SANFL alongside Sid Draper, and I think he would be a good partner and complements the rest of Carlton's draft crop really well. He's more of that contested ball-winning player. Doesn't really have the speed that the modern game is looking for, but I think if he just brings his toughness and his tank at AFL level as a two-way runner. I think he has scope to settle at AFL level. At pick 63, I had the Eagles taking Harry Charlson as a halfback. He's attacking, really attacking for the GWV Rebels. Quite similar to Harrison Oliver in the fact that he can also be accountable for a man. He's good at intercepting, so he's good at reading the play. But yeah, I think his foot skills might let him down a little bit at times, and given his size of 183 centimeters, there might be some question marks over his ability to be a midfielder at AFL level, so there's not much scope for improvement or ceiling for Charlson. At pick 64, the Cats are on the board and they take Reece Unwin, who started the season as a small forward but moved into the midfield later in the season and really established himself as a damaging forward of centre player. He's got speed, he can hit the scoreboard, and I think he complements Jack Owl really well, and the rest of Geelong's midfield with Jai Clark there as well and Tanner Bruin. He's the one that can really burn speed and be an attacking force, and can also rotate through the forward line if the Cats want to develop a rotation through that point. We're into round 5, and this is the point of the draft where I think a lot of bids will start coming in. Clubs will just start taking their academy products. So I think North Melbourne will take River Stevens with pick 65, the small forward. Pick 66, the Eagles take Riley Bice as a mature aged halfback from Werribee. He's 185 centimeters, 24 years old I think, so he's a bit older, but he does have a lot of potential. He's a good rebounder of halfback, and I think along with Charleston it gives them a lot of drive off halfback. Pick 67, Adelaide take Ned Bowman, who is a 186 centimeter forward. Question marks over whether he is a small forward or a key forward, which does put a bit of doubt over his draft position, but he does have a lot of X factor and creates goals from little opportunities, so I think that Crows would be happy to take a punt on their local product. Melbourne at pick 68 take Ricky Mentha as an NGA prospect. Pick 69, the Dockers take Cody Angove as a small forward, 182 centimeters. Can move into the midfield as well, so another forward half play for Freo. Pick 70, the Bulldogs take Luca Grego, who I think is a good value pick at this point, 184 centimeters. Can play as an accountable halfback, but can also play as a defensive midfielder. So I think Grego has a bit of upside there, and he's a pretty mature body as well, so could be ready for AFL level in 2025. Pick 71, I have the Cats taking Will Hayes, who's a skillful outside midfielder who probably plays on the wing. 178 centimeters, so he's a bit small, but he's fast and he's got good skills, and I think that complements the on-build grade of Geelong again. Pick 72, the Eagles take Aiden Riddle as a long-term development ruckman project. He's from Claremont in Western Australia, and he's got good hands. He's got good athleticism as well, and I think he's a project that's worth pursuing for the Eagles. Pick 73, St Kilda take Lennox Hoffman as an academy graduate. Pick 74, the Bulldogs take Jacob Newton as a small forward. Got a lot of X factor and speed, and could do a role as a pressure forward, which I think the Bulldogs could do with a bit more replenishing in that space. And with the final pick, at pick 75, the Eagles take Malachi Champion as a small forward from their academy. So that's it for the final edition of the Phantom Draft. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts on the players that your clubs have taken. There's a lot of good players remaining on the board following this draft, so I wouldn't be surprised if some of the players I've selected drop out, and then some of the players I haven't selected get in. So the likes of Damon Hollow, he's really stiff to miss out. He could be a rookie option. Cooper Bell as a Giants Academy graduate, I think he'll be a rookie option as well. Cade Herbert, Luke Kennedy, Bailey McKenzie, Xavier Ivicic, all very stiff to miss out. And Jackson Artemis as well. So there's quite a few players, good players on the board still, and I think there'll be a chance in the rookie draft. But yeah, obviously I think a lot of these players will be selected in the national draft. It's just which team is willing to take the punt on them. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.